It all started in early September, just as the new school year began. Madison Clark had been looking forward to her first year at Westwood Valley High. Freshman year was supposed to be the gateway to new beginnings, new classes, new friendships, new possibilities. She had dreams like any 14-year-old. She loved sketching fashion designs, dreamed of launching her own clothing brand someday, and loved nothing more than styling her long, wavy chestnut hair into intricate braids that matched her daily mood. Her hair was a symbol of her creativity, confidence, and identity. On the second Friday of school, she and a few friends lingered by the side entrance during lunch. The sun was out, students were sprawled across the grass, some tossing footballs while others gathered near the vending machines. It was a perfectly ordinary day until it wasn't. Madison was laughing at a joke, her back to the building. She never saw Jason Riley approach. He was a sophomore tall, wiry, with a sly grin and a mean streak. Without a word, without warning, he emptied an entire bottle of industrial-grade super glue onto the crown of Madison's head. The liquid hit her scalp like acid. At first, she thought it was some kind of prank, maybe juice or water. But the stench hit her nostrils, sharp and chemical. Then came the burn hot, searing, spreading across her scalp like wildfire. She screamed, instinctively clawing at her hair, but the more she touched it, the worse it got. Her fingers stuck together, strands of hair matted and fused to her skin. Jason didn't wait to see the damage. He laughed and walked off like it was some harmless joke. A few students gasped. Most stood frozen. One girl pulled out her phone. No one ran for help. Madison collapsed to her knees, tears streaming down her face. A security guard eventually noticed and escorted her to the nurse's office, but by then the glue had hardened. Clumps of hair were cemented to her scalp, forming a crusty, painful mass. The nurse dabbed at her head with wet paper towels, clueless about the chemical burns forming underneath. Her father, Alan Clark, a retired Army sergeant who now worked in logistics, was called in. When he arrived and saw Madison in that chair, scalp red, hair mangled, sobbing quietly, something inside him snapped. The nurse tried to downplay it. "It's just glue," she said. "We've seen worse." Alan didn't argue. He simply scooped Madison into his arms and drove her straight to urgent care. The doctors were stunned. She had sustained first-degree chemical burns across portions of her scalp. Several follicles were damaged. Some would never grow back. The only way to treat it was to shave everything off. There was no salvaging the damage. When Madison saw her reflection for the first time after the procedure, she broke. Her thick, flowing hair, her signature was gone. She barely recognized the girl staring back. Her mother, Karen, stood behind her, holding back tears. That night, Karen created a Facebook page titled Justice for Madison. She posted a photo of Madison post-treatment, along with a detailed account of what had happened. She didn't write it out of vengeance. She wrote it out of disbelief that a child could do something so cruel and get away with it. And at first, it seemed like Jason had gotten away with it. The school suspended him for 3 days. 3 days. No expulsion. No criminal charges. No formal statement of apology. He roamed the halls freely afterward, smirking when Madison passed. Administration offered empty words. "We're handling it internally." Teachers whispered behind closed doors, but no one stepped up. Karen and Alan weren't the type to seek lawsuits or attention. But this crossed every line. Their daughter had been physically assaulted on school property with a chemical substance, and the response was silence. Worse, apathy. The Facebook post gained traction quickly. Within 48 hours, it was shared by over 75,000 people. Support poured in: mothers, fathers, teens, stylists, activists. People shared their own stories of school bullying, of inadequate punishment, of systems protecting the aggressors more than the victims. A local hairstylist named Marisol Ramos reached out and offered Madison a free transformation. She specialized in working with clients experiencing hair loss due to burns and medical trauma. Madison was hesitant at first, but something about Marisol's voice, gentle, warm, felt safe. The appointment changed everything. Marisol treated Madison like royalty. She didn't just give her a haircut, she crafted a look that was powerful, bold and defiant. When Madison looked in the mirror, she didn't see a victim. She saw a fighter. Her new look was a sleek, buzzed undercut dyed a fierce auburn, highlighting her cheekbones and hazel eyes. But even as Madison began to reclaim herself, the school remained unmoved. They insisted she return to class, as if nothing had happened. Her attacker was still enrolled, still attending gym, still eating lunch with his friends. The Clarks refused. They withdrew Madison and filed a civil lawsuit against the school and Jason's family, not for financial gain, but for accountability. Their legal team argued that the school had failed in its duty of care. There were surveillance cameras. There were witnesses. And yet the punishment was laughable. Jason's parents claimed it was just a prank, and their son didn't mean harm. But the medical reports, photos, and Facebook campaign told a different story. The court took the matter seriously. The trial took 5 months to reach, and in that time, Madison stayed homeschooled. She kept painting, working on her designs, and volunteering with local shelters. She even began speaking at small community events about bullying and healing. In court, her attorney played the security footage frame by frame. The room fell silent as everyone watched Jason creep up behind Madison and empty the glue onto her head. His laughter, her scream, the silence from bystanders. Jason shifted in his chair. His parents avoided eye contact. The judge ruled in Madison's favor. The school was found liable for negligence and ordered to overhaul their bullying policies. Jason was expelled and required to attend a rehabilitation program for juveniles involved in violent incidents. It wasn't prison, but it was something. More importantly, the ruling became a legal precedent in the district. Other schools were now required to report any incidents involving chemical substances directly to local law enforcement. The district quietly introduced new training modules for staff to handle crisis intervention. Madison didn't throw a victory party. She didn't go on television. She celebrated by sitting on the back porch with her parents and younger brother, sipping lemonade, watching their dog chase dragonflies across the yard. What she did do in the weeks after the verdict was write a letter, not to Jason, but to the students who watched and did nothing. She posted it online. To the ones who saw and stayed silent. I used to wonder why you didn't help. Maybe you were scared. Maybe you thought it wasn't your business. But silence has power, too. It either protects the hurter, it protects the ones doing the hurting. I forgive you, but I hope next time you speak. The letter went viral. Teachers printed it out and pinned it on classroom walls. Students shared it with hashtags like Speak Up Like Madison and Glue Is Not a Joke. Over time, Madison's hair grew back. Not the same, but strong in its own way. She decided to keep it short. Said it made her feel like someone who'd already survived the worst day and kept walking. Now a junior, Madison returns to Westwood Valley not as a student, but as a guest speaker. Every fall, during the school's orientation week, she addresses the incoming freshmen. She tells them what happened, not to scare them, but to show them how quickly cruelty can strike and how much louder compassion must be. In the front row, some students cry. Others bow their heads. But all of them remember her. Madison Clark became more than the girl who lost her hair. She became a name spoken with pride, a symbol of courage when cruelty tried to win. And every time someone asks how she kept going, she smiles and says the same thing. Because I refuse to let someone else's cowardice become my identity.